But I can't.
Airplane?
You got to understand, I can't,
Silence it.
because there's music playing. I can't rip our voices off of the music. But that's fine. Hey, everybody.
Hey, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Welcome back to Tony and Tina Talks. We had a video to post, but the microphone quality was subpar because Daddy-O here had a real cheap-ass USB mic, and it sucked. But now we're all mic'd up pretty well, so now we should all be coming through loud and clear.
Yep.
So we have our guest here,
Yep.
Daddy B.
Daddy-O.
Hello.
Yeah, perfect.
I was going to be a fly on the wall.
No.
Well, it's okay. Chime in when you need to.
Fly in the soup instead.
So what would you like to talk about today? Are we going to give let's recap what we couldn't post, just so I can't retread the same episode. So even though no one else heard it, but let's recap.
We're gonna go over narcissism. I think it's a hot topic. I'm noticing it's getting more and more popular on the YouTubes. Because I do think it's something that's pretty prevalent in society. And yeah, so
And not even being addressed.
yeah.
Do you remember the store Hot Topic?
My daughter goes to Hot Topic all the time.
Still around?
Still around. Yep.
All right.
So when we talk about narcissism, I don't just mean narcissism as in a personality trait, because you can not be a narcissist but have traits of narcissism. We're going to talk strictly about narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. So let me give a brief rundown of the 9 signs of narcissism, and that's an exaggerated sense of self-importance, feeling superior to others, an excessive need for admiration, superficial and exploitative relationships, a lack of empathy, difficulty with attachment and dependency. They tend to have feelings of emptiness and boredom, and this actually leads into depression. Let's see. Vulnerability to life transitions. Now, how it's diagnosed is there's these 9 things, but if you meet 5 of the 9, or the other person meets 5 of the 9, they can be diagnosed as having narcissistic personality disorder. And it's kind of the same thing, same rundown. Grandiose sense of self-importance, a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Belief that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by other special or high-status people. Requires excessive admiration. Has a sense of entitlement. That's a big one. Interpersonally exploitative and takes advantage of others. Lacks empathy. Envies others or believes others are envious of him or her. And finally, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors and attitudes. When I was researching the topic, I found that narcissism, it's actually not the narcissistic personality traits, but like an actual NPD disorder. It's in the population at a normal rate. It's not it's not like it's excessive or rare. But with social media and the internet, I do think that narcissists they get propped up even more because of the social media. So that's why I think it's such a hot topic right now, because we're seeing more. It's not happening more often. It's just we're noticing it more often because of the advent of the internet. So
How
I mean,
thoughts?
how about we run down somebody we know?
Mhm.
I could tell you somebody I know, and I'll go through their traits.
And we can, and let's give our disclaimer that we always got to give. We're not doctors. We're not professionals, but we do have eyes to see and ears to
Yeah.
hear,
We've lived through
and
this
we've
shit.
lived through enough that, you know, like I said before, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So go ahead, give your example.
My example, and obviously these are all things that I'm paraphrasing from your list. Always the feeling of entitlement. They're never wrong. They're never sorry. They do not give up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they will hurt you later with something you divulge to them, and they will use it against you
Mm-hmm.
if you cross them. They will belittle you instead of support you. What I mean by that is, if I say I see a job out there, it pays more money, they'll never hire you. You know, rather than saying go for it, they always want you to fail.
Mm-hmm.
They feel great when you fail because if they can't be better than you, at least you're worse than them. I think that maybe that's what's going on in their
Yes.
head. Uh, you know, they downplay your success, but they always puff up their own.
Mm-hmm.
They always keep score. They're always
Yes.
constantly, forever keeping score, no matter what. And the one and only time when they will show like thanks or remorse or something that resembles a normal emotion, uh, it's always temporary and there's an agenda behind it, and it's always something gratuitous. It's never anything like getting back to the job or whatever. Oh, congratulations on the job. It's no, it's something stupid like they'll thank you for getting up and changing the channel. You know, they'll thank you for that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But and that's about it. But I'll add this. I don't know how people break away from this stuff. I could tell you what I did. One day I said, fuck you. I'm leaving. I mean it. That's it. And I turned around and walked away, and I kept that promise to myself, knowing I was going to be trashed, but I was at a point in that relationship where being trashed wasn't even going to be half the pain it was living with the person. So, there.
Well, and that's so something that I think people really need to understand is there's no changing a person with NPD. There's no rehabilitation for them.
Hey, can I add another
Huh.
one?
Go ahead.
This is going to sound strange, and a lot of people, anyone listening, is going to say, well, that's not on the narcissist. That's not on you. And they could argue that, but I'll explain. They get you to lie. You don't want to lie, but they get you to lie because when your mouth opens and you're about to tell the truth, you've been through so many experiences with them that you already know what they're going to say and belittle you. So you lie to come up with the thing that you think they'll accept.
Right.
How fucking pitiful is that?
Yeah, that does happen a lot. But I'll
That's my personal.
I'll give this will go back to the list that you just gave. So these are common types of narcissistic manipulation, okay? We have triangulation, which is using bringing in a third person into your conflict, typically to reinforce their own opinion or position. So, you know, you could be having a conflict with the narcissist and they'll go, but so and so said this, or so and so agrees with me. When it doesn't have to do with anyone, they don't have anything to do with it. They're just trying to reinforce that they're right and you're wrong. Okay, there's gaslighting, which we've talked about this before. It gets thrown out, thrown out a lot, but people don't necessarily use it in the correct term. Gaslighting is the narcissist will try and get you to doubt your own perspective and reality by twisting facts or insisting things you remember didn't actually happen.
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm reading it right
Okay.
now.
I was going to tell you to look it up, and you're
I'm
actually
reading it right here.
Actually,
Hoovering, not hovering.
not hovering. Yeah, we made that
Hoovering
mistake.
attempts to reconnect or pull you back into a toxic or abusive relationship. So, like you said, you walked away and you stuck with it. Some people walk away, but then they get pulled right back in.
I walked away after the fourth try, though.
Yes. So they will try and reel you back in. Okay. Silent treatment. I think we all know what silent treatment is, but they purposely ignore you or isolate you. Scapegoating. This is big with narcissistic parents. They put all the blame on one designated child. That's the scapegoat. And then there's passive aggression. So that's indirect blame shifting, sabotage, sarcasm. I think we all know what passive aggression is too. But it's the big thing, and you talked about it, is you knew that they were going to talk about you and paint you out to be the bad person.
Well, they were doing it the whole relationship.
Right.
So what made me think they wouldn't do it when I was gone?
So that's a smear campaign. So what they usually do is they will, when they triangulate and they get other people involved in a specific situation, they will, anything you've ever told, that any kind of secrets you have or any kind of personal things that you don't want other people to know, they will inevitably bring those up to make you look bad, so that in their eyes they remain like the winner, because they do keep score.
Here's the thing I wonder. Do they... Now, we know they have issues with feeling remorse, but there's a difference between remorse and realizing you're wrong but not admitting it. So basically, do they always think they're right or know they're wrong but just don't give up?
Well, they have an inability to ever admit that they're wrong.
They can't confront.
So that's why you'll never see, it's very rare to see narcissists who eventually self-reflect and get help themselves, because the first step in doing that is admitting you were wrong and you have a problem, and they're like completely incapable of doing that. Anthony?
Oh, I'm just
Here for the ride.
I'm here for the ride. I'm audioing.
He's audioing.
Yeah. I'm doing things in the background. So.
Yeah, so blame him if it sounds like shit.
Well, the gaslighting thing to me is a huge part.
See, I can't say that I'm sure it happened, but I can't remember, like, I got a lot of bullshit. Is that gaslighting? That's not necessarily gaslighting. Gaslighting involves someone getting you
okay, so you have this conflict with a narcissist, right? And months down the line, if it ever comes up in conversation again, it would be like, no, and this is this is the victim talking to the narcissist. No, that's not what you said. You said this. I didn't say that. Like they try and make you feel like your whole sense of reality
You didn't hear
you
right.
didn't
You
hear
didn't
it right.
see right.
Yeah, that it's you, that you're the problem. And to me, that the gaslighting is huge because it totally warps the way you think.
Oh, well, you make a
It
good point.
it totally warps it
Of all the
because
things that make you or me, what makes it hard to recover is you don't know right from wrong
Right.
for a couple of years. You don't know good for bad, up from down, left from right. I'm totally serious. It takes you years
yeah,
to be confident that you're saying something that is accurate and pertinent or anything like that.
well,
Or confidence.
right. It's definitely weighs on your confidence, and it also, you always, when you talk to the narcissist, you always walk away being like, was it me? Did I do this?
What could I have done?
What could I have done different? You're always second guessing yourself. We all have like this intuition and that little voice in your head that tells you, you probably shouldn't do that, or I would steer clear of this person. But because you've been gaslit so much, you start to it's like you almost turn off that intuition.
Well, you become a
because you're
pawn
second guessing.
and a piece in their world,
Right.
and not a decision maker in your own
Right.
world.
Yeah, to me the gaslighting, and even if we
I
talked,
could see where that is,
It's-
even though wasn't big with me. I could see, because I guess I must have been gaslit, because it took me years to be, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying I just had a shut mouth for the years.
No,
I'm just saying, when I spoke, always in the back of your head, it's like, am I right? Am I wrong? And you brought up, here, let me add this. Well, when I finally walked away, there came a point where I actually started keeping score.
mm-hmm,
I had to start keeping score myself.
mm-hmm,
And everything that this person said over time, I realized was bullshit. And that's when I had the strength to say, I'm leaving, and say whatever you want, because I'm not even going to believe what you say, because I know it's going to be a lie.
mm-hmm. Yeah, you can almost once you crack the code, okay, once you've identified, oh, this person is definitely on a narcissistic spectrum, once you've identified it and you do your own research and you look into it, and you get educated in it, that is when you can start treating that narcissistic relationship with the upper hand for once. Because once you can recognize it, and you know the ploy, you know the script,
Yeah.
you have that pattern recognition where it's like, wait a minute, when they say this, that means then they're going to do this. It's like a chain of events. Once
you actually hone your perception, however warped and crooked
yes,
it is.
you gain the power, okay? And that's, to me,
be careful for the shitstorm, though.
But there's always a repercussion. Yes, there will always be the wrath
I'll admit,
that follows.
in my case, it was a divorce. I walked away, got a divorce lawyer, and served her. It was over. Well, you know what I'm saying. It wasn't over, but it was over. Other people, what if you're a 15-year-old kid and it's your 40-year-old mom? What do? You can't say, I'm out of here.
Yeah, it's definitely hard
Some people,
for the children
you
of the
really
narcissist.
learn how to deal with it.
It's like because when you're a kid, you can't say everything you want to say. You don't have the skills to converse with them because they're so manipulative that you don't have the maturity yourself to deal with it, because it's actually like
Well, your
the
parents are
15-year-old
supposed
is
to.
actually like another 15-year-old.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing.
No, it's
They have the
there's
emotional
no,
maturity of a child.
the adult in the room. There's no adult in the
No.
room.
They're very immature with the and everything is a competition.
Yeah,
It's like you're
that's a good one to
constantly
add
in
too.
competition.
They don't. It's not a relationship where it's equal, 50-50. We both sacrifice. We laugh together, but we also cry together. No, had to do all the anguish and whatever
Yeah.
was on my shoulders, and it yeah.
And if there ever comes a day where you don't do what the narcissist wants you to do, that's when you go against them, that's when you get the wrath.
Yeah.
The wrath comes.
And they're like we said, they don't give up. They're persistent. They're like that drop of water that finds the crack. Somehow they seep in, and like you said, they start to triangulate. They'll use other people, and yeah. I'm gonna give one word of advice with the caveat: I am not a trained professional, but as best you can, be nonchalant but assertive. Say things like, I don't feel that way. I'm sorry, but I don't feel that way. Rather than saying, you're wrong and I'm right. Have as adult and nonchalant but assertive as you possibly can be. I don't agree with you. That's not my idea of a good vacation. Whatever. Don't be afraid to say how you feel, but don't be sucked into the argument. And don't feel bad about saying I've said enough and I'm walking away, because they'll always say, "Oh, you don't want to talk about it. You're not adult enough to sit." When really all they're saying is, "Sit here. I'm not done ruining you and making you feel like shit yet." And if there is a trained professional out there, leave your comments.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to sit there and tell us you've never had to deal with a narcissist?
No, I'm starting to think I'm a
We
narcissist.
sound alike. Yeah, well, that used to cross my mind, but I realized I can't be, because I've been more the empath in at least one relationship, maybe more.
Well, the empathy is a tricky thing, because I've been researching this for a while. Not that I'm an expert,
Right.
but empathy is a very tricky thing. Everyone is supposed to have empathy. You're supposed to have empathy. However, it's when you have excessive empathy that it becomes a problem. And a lot of times, this being like a highly sensitive person with a lot of empathy, you tend to have a lot more anxiety. You tend to have a lot more depression.
Let me ask a question. And if you know from your research,
Yeah.
are these people groomed to be empaths and trained? Or is it something?
It's a response. Since we're talking about narcissism, we'll relate it to narcissism. Having over empathy and like being very highly sensitive, it's that is a response to the narcissistic abuse.
Okay.
So,
but there's got to be a reason, and we're not psychologists here. There's got to be a reason why doesn't someone from the very beginning ever say, "No, I don't want Mexican tonight. I want Chinese." Go ahead and have Mexican. Have a good time. Why don't people do that from the beginning? Why do they give in? Is it because they're so persistent? Is it because they buy into you'll ruin me, so I gotta agree with you?
It's a lot of it is you just like I don't know. For me, you just don't want to deal. You would rather just give in.
Yeah, I know.
It's easier to give in than it is to deal with them.
Right. And then you think, well, next time I'll make the dinner choice, and they don't even remember the last week. That's normal
yeah,
for a
it's
narcissist.
they always have to be in control. They always they want everyone to view life through the same lens. Like nobody can have their own personality,
Yeah.
their own likes, because it'll always be, why do you like that? Oh, you like that movie? I think movies like that are stupid.
No,
It's like
yeah, I
it's
know.
always a negative. You they're not positive people. It's always a negative thing. And everyone has to view life the same way as them, or they look at you like you're weird. You know, when what's normal is like you're supposed to embrace differences. You're supposed to uh you know we everyone likes different things. We're not all gonna like the same things.
Right.
We're not all gonna get along. It's like
There's different degree. You know, you may be living with someone who is 100% toxic, or someone who's just freaking annoying and likes the house cleaned a certain way or whatever.
yeah. There's a difference between having certain traits, you know, and look, being a narcissist is very normal for a child because a child is trying
Center of their own
center
world.
of their own world. They don't have the the ability to vocalize everything. So the thing is though, with certain people, they don't grow out of it.
Yeah.
And it's usually because the narcissists themselves were traumatized or abused, neglected. Something happened to them.
You know, I can even remember as a kid those experiences that you say change your life.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and these are common things. At some point in time, when you're a child, maybe you go to a relative's funeral, and and it's the first time in your life that you realize you're not going to live forever.
Yeah.
Then one day you find out there's no Santa Claus.
What do you mean?
You
No.
yeah.
Santa Claus is in all
Disclaimer:
of us.
if you got a kid under 10, keep them out of the room. No, you change, and you change with you shift to the new paradigm. They always stay the baby that wants the bottle.
Yeah.
They never like get out of that mode.
They're emotional. They're stunted. Their emotional growth is stunted. You know, at the same time though, I say these things and like I have an understanding with how narcissists are created, but at the same time, by the time you're a grown adult, you have to start taking responsibility for your own actions, right? I mean, and you can't always just say, but I was abused. But I had a shitty
Yeah.
childhood. It's like, yeah, don't we all? I mean, when you really think about it, it's varying degrees.
If that's the case with people, don't wallow in pity.
Yeah, you can't-
use
right.
that to turn around and go in the other direction and put your best foot forward and use your best judgment.
The problem is, though,
You don't know what direction to go.
with a narcissist, they
That's true.
have to come to terms with the fact that they're wrong, that they hurt people, that they're not this perfect specimen. That's the hard part is if you're ever expecting a narcissist to change, I mean, you're going to be waiting forever. can it happen? Yes, I've in researching this, there are a few people who have podcasts who are recovering from having NPD, but it's very, very rare though. And the one thing that I discovered, because this is a question that I always had, was like, does the narcissist know that what they're doing is wrong, or are they completely oblivious?
That's kind of what I was alluding to.
And the narcissists that I've come across who have, YouTube channels or blogs or whatever, they all say, "Oh no, they're very aware.
Oh, really?
They're very aware." Um,
I wonder if narcissism on a clinical level exists in stages, like a stage one, or do you either have all the traits or only a few of the
it's
traits?
a spectrum. They view it as a spectrum disorder. Like how autism is on a spectrum.
Okay.
Personality disorders are also on a spectrum. So you'll have some people who have many traits or a few traits, but it mainly comes down to how much does it affect them and the people around them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's there's that Dr. Ramani who I
Yeah.
follow on YouTube. She's a psychologist, but she specializes in narcissism. And
Growing field.
yeah, how about it? And she will even say that narcissists know what they're doing. They are cognizant of it. And she's very adamant that you will never change a narcissist. She's very adamant.
Okay.
Where there are some doctors that I'll listen to and they'll say, well, they can, there are some that can make changes and come to terms that they have something wrong with them and work on it, but it's very rare. So, what do you do when you have a narcissist in your life,
And the average person will never even realize it.
Yeah. It's like, you've got a few options. Like I said before, you have 3 options. You do nothing and you live in misery, or you have limited contact with these people on your own terms, or you cut off contact completely.
Yeah.
Now, if you're working at a job where you have a narcissist for a boss, you can't just ghost your boss. So it's like, do you find a new job? Do you learn to live with it? Do you it all?
Well, the old saying.
Yeah, go ahead with your Dad's got sayings for everything.
No.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation that you're not happy with, 1, you try to change it. If you can't change it, 2, you learn to live with it. 3, if you can't learn to live with it, you remove yourself from the situation. Now, I know there's probably people out there who've probably exhausted all those 3, and you don't know. Well, I couldn't tell you what's next after that.
It's a long saying.
You know what I notice about
No, that's
narcissists,
a 1,
though?
2, 3. You either learn to live with it, or you change it, or learn to live with it, or just leave the situation entirely.
What I find,
Does everybody think I answered myself there? Is that
Yes.
what it is? Yeah.
I think we
I
got
guess
it.
we sound the
One more
same.
time.
No, they hear me, then they hear you, and they think I'm talking to myself.
I forget what I was gonna say.
Sometimes here, I'll say this, and I'm not an expert, but usually when a relationship does end, it's because of the fallout from something else, whether it's an affair or a black eye,
Yeah.
or it's you left because of the affair, not because of the narcissism. You haven't even diagnosed it yet, you know, as a layperson. You left because you were getting beaten. You left because your valuable stuff was being thrown against
Yeah.
the wall, and you wouldn't take it anymore. But it's never you don't necessarily. It's the fallout. You don't necessarily.
Yeah.
It's the shitstorm.
I got Glade sprayed in my mouth. That was the end.
What did you say? A naughty word?
No. No.
Well, that's. I wouldn't even call that narcissistic. I would call that sadistic.
Well,
Yeah.
no, there are narcissists who get very violent.
Well, I'm aware.
it's
I'm aware.
it's you know,
Well,
not all narcissism presents the same though. You can have a narcissist who's just as evil with their words as a person is with a fist. So, you know,
yeah, she was pretty terrible.
the emotional the emotional trauma from narcissists to me can be almost as damaging as physical abuse. Sometimes I think mental abuse and psychological abuse is in some ways even more destructive than the physical.
You know, I'll get specific.
You don't have to name names or no.
No, I
Even though
won't.
the three of us are probably going to know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Previous relationship, she was, I mean, I guess you would classify it as a narcissist. But I think, I mean, I didn't diagnose it at the time, obviously.
But it's the never wrong,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
belittling.
Yeah, it
Well,
was the.
shoot through a few of the traits. That way we can verify that it's them. Okay.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, like, always needed praise, and recognition for the smallest of achievements.
Yeah.
Hyper self-focused. You know, didn't matter what I was doing or what I was trying to achieve. It was, you know, I want to do this with my career or open up a cycling studio or whatever. Stuff like that. But it was kind of like what you said. It took an extreme situation to get that to end because I was living with it, and then eventually it had to end. But yeah, very knows what buttons to push of mine
Mm-hmm.
to turn me into the person.
That they could then
That-
say, look at
Look
you.
at what you've done.
Yeah, right.
You know, there's ketchup all over the wall because you smashed a cheeseburger.
Or they do something inappropriate and you made me do
Right,
that.
you drove
Yes.
me to this.
No responsibility. See,
You
they take no
didn't-
responsibility.
You didn't go to that Blink 182 concert. Look what you made me do.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was
Okay, you're narrowing it down now. So
Yeah,
that,
a lot.
I
That's okay.
it's like one of these things is
No,
not like
yeah.
the other, you know.
so
you know-
if you consider that about 5% of the population is, and that's a real number,
That's
right?
a real number.
It's about-
5% of the population. So 1 in 200 people.
16.
1 in 200.
1 in 200
1
people.
in 20 is 5%.
I am looking at the thing right here. It says approximately point. See, okay.
Well, if 5%.
Experts estimate that up to 5% of the people in the population have NPD. Okay, that's coming from Cleveland Clinic. But then if I look here at a recovery. This
Well-
says approximately 0.5% of the United States population. So I don't know if it's are they going 5% off of global and then in the US it comes to point, I don't know how they're
I don't
figuring
know.
this,
I
but
think a lot of
according
narcissists would be in the United States.
up it says approximately 1 in 200 people has the disorder.
Okay, well,
Um,
that's not that much, but when they are in your life, it might as well be 199 out of 200.
yeah.
Because odds are you know someone or are one. Ooh.
I still haven't figured it out.
Because yours, what are you, 6 out of 12 there?
Yeah.
Well, we all have.
I'm on the spectrum.
Here's how I
everyone
know
can
I'm
have
not. I'm not a narcissist. I will watch the news and hear a story about children abducted or whatever. I get emotional and I'll even shed tears.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I know that I have.
You're not completely emotionless. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a psychopath.
Yeah.
But narcissists they do have empathy.
I notice
But
that's
it's
shedding tears for someone else.
It's an empathy for, it's like an themselves.
Right.
They don't have they have very,
It's kind of like when the little kid has a tantrum, doesn't get his way, and bursts into tears.
yeah, it's an empathy for, it's a selfish empathy rather than an empathy for other people. Now, narcissists are great actors. It is possible for them to appear like they have empathy.
Yeah.
They can, oh, that I heard about so and so in the neighborhood, that's just so terrible. Like they can appear like they have
Emulate.
it, but it's an act.
Mhm.
A lot of what they do is in see their main goal is to get what they want at all times. So
Right.
if that means they have to schmooze someone, they
Or
have
show
to
empathy.
or show empathy, then they'll do that. But there's always a motive. You know, there's a motive to everything they do.
Whoops.
You know, and according to what I've read, there aren't any more narcissists today than there have been in the past. Now, I find that hard to believe.
I think it's just more
But
visible.
you know, maybe it is
Well,
just
what if you know social
Media?
no customs, they wax and wane, and cultures, maybe a culture develops a little bit more narcissistic or humble or whatever. I always comment about how I'll come right out and say I work with a lot of Indian people, and for the most part they're peaceful, they're kind, and want to be accommodating.
Dr. Ramani says that it's a cultural
And
phenomenon with
I don't see
narcissism too.
that, with your typical American-born American, but you know, I don't. That's not necessarily something you have to go see a doctor about.
No,
or
there's
whatever.
she does say that there's a cultural relevance to narcissism, that some cultures have more narcissistic traits than others. You know, because what I find interesting is like how, like the why of why a narcissist is created. Like, what is it that happened to them? Was it how they were raised? Was it culture?
Chromosomes.
What is it, genetic? Like, what is it? I think it's a little of everything. You know, it's I think it's just a little from column A, a little from column B, and then you get what you get. Yeah, I think it's a huge problem, because when you think about a narcissist's effect, they're not just self-destructive for themselves. They burn every bridge they ever
right.
encounter.
Yeah.
And that's the thing
And
is
then
it's
they
like,
look back and blame someone else.
well, it's never their fault, but I always like to look at it like, what's the common
The old,
denominator?
that's the bridge you made me burn.
Yeah. It's like, what's the common denominator? You know? And do you ever notice with a lot of narcissists, they fall out of a lot of relationships. So it's like, and not just intimate. I mean, it could just be friendships, it could be coworkers. They always seem to go through people really quickly.
Well, I'm sure their mission is to gravitate or get people to gravitate to them, and the ones where it doesn't seem to be working, maybe they don't waste their time.
Well, maybe some just.
But they'll shit on you, and then
I think some catch on quicker than others.
So I do have narcissism then.
But they catch on. Like, I think other people catch on, and then they just, ride off into the sunset. But I don't know. I can always tell because they go through people. You never find, I've never found a narcissist to, like, have that same core group of people around them.
Yeah.
Like, they might have one or two, but it's like, I don't know, there's always conflicts in their life.
Yeah.
It's always drama-filled conflicts. So, anything else?
I still want to talk about OnlyFans.
Why? Are we looking for time?
No, we're almost at time.
Okay. That could be the next topic. It's fine.
Yeah, just a couple minutes. I thought that was interesting. We were talking about it before.
Well, have you discussed social media in general?
Well, that was
What a
my segue.
shithole all social media is.
That was my segue.
And keep in mind, I'm a
the evolution of social media.
I'm not against any of the things you necessarily see on the internet. It just boggles my
Animal
mind
porn?
how lopsided something is that you could use to educate and teach and get out a peaceful message to the whole world. But instead, everybody's showing you pictures of their kids' first poop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everybody's fucking everybody.
Yeah.
It's like it's a pile
cesspool.
of shit.
It's a
Yeah.
fucking cesspool.
Pardon the F bombs
Well,
and the S bombs.
but everything. I mean, in my opinion, everything that ends up bad started good. Like social media.
Well,
it started as a good thing.
we don't want to get into like Illuminati and stuff like that. I think that a lot of times
we
people
can.
do start things with the best of intentions, but it doesn't take long for them to be commandeered by some asshole
Right.
who's only concerned about profiting and doesn't
narcissist.
care.
Well, people.
Well, that's a narcissist.
Narcissists ruin it for everybody else.
This is why I'm saying it's an important topic, because politics, I think you have to be a narcissist to be in
well,
politics.
today, maybe not 250 years ago.
Fine.
but
Well,
today.
as far as modern day is concerned, social media full of narcissists. It's such a horrible trait to have. It really leaves people
Well,
empty.
for everybody else but the nurse.
Don't you
Mhm.
think good can come out of narcissism?
I'm sure there have been a lot of
Inventions
sports
and
team managers that were narcissists or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, but it's always at
and
the
we have the Super Bowl.
yeah, but it's always at the expense of
Yeah.
someone or something
Maybe
else.
that's sure, but
I mean,
the-
You know?
a narcissist can be an achiever.
right.
Of course.
That's what I meant. Like, like the
But
Elon
usually they're
Elon
phony.
Musks of the world or the Steve
They
Jobs of
might
the world.
achieve, but they're phony.
They're all
Yeah.
narcissists, but good things came out of their existence.
We
Maybe not
don't
for
know
the
that.
people around them,
Who
but
you calling a narcissist? How do you know?
what?
Guy's dead, and you're gonna call him
Who?
a narcissist. You said Steve
Jobs.
Jobs.
Well,
Oh.
yeah, I saw the Ashton Kutcher movie.
Well,
Super.
Well, I saw an episode of Dr. Oz. I'm an expert now.
well,
Is he
he's-
still on TV?
Is he
I don't
even a
know.
doctor? I don't even know.
You know,
Dr. Phil.
He's about as much of a doctor as Dr. Phil is.
I don't follow. I can't be bothered with this shit anymore.
Well, I'm just saying, lot.
That's true. On a side note, if something has no value to you, don't be afraid to walk away
Just walk
from
away.
it. Yeah.
Well, I walked away from
Shut
most
that TV.
social
if it's
media.
garbage. Shut that
TV.
Radio. Turn off that computer. If it's garbage, you
Yeah,
shouldn't feel
I
forced
don't,
to search until you're happy.
No. So if you want, we could wrap this up. In episode 2, we can.
Switch into social
Switch into
media
social
and
media.
OnlyFans. What particularly about OnlyFans? Give them a little
Give 'em a
Well,
teaser.
a teaser.
It's the evolution, right?
Okay.
We went from social media platforms trying to connect people,
Well, remember when the guy
Digitally.
invented the radio?
right,
Well, how did that evolve? Turn on a radio now. It's all shit.
right.
Yeah.
Some guy invented a television. Turn on a TV now.
Well,
it's
that's-
all shit.
That's the evolution.
It's shit, I
It
tell you.
it starts good, and then devolves into feet pics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can cut it.
Yeah, if you want to see us out, and
All right.
we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yep. This is Tony and Tina Talks with special guest Daddy B,
Mm.
and
I
we'll be-
thought we were gonna go with Stallion.
Stallion.
Daddy B's. Okay.
Stallion. I watched an interesting video on breeding stallions.
Really?
Yeah, it was on OnlyFans. All right.
And funny, it was a horse
Yeah.
and an Indonesian woman.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And you know what? She was very accommodating.
Yeah.
All right.
That must-
Not a narcissist.
Yeah.
Narcissistic
Yo.
horse.
She was
That
definitely not a
horse is
narcissist.
one narcissist.
All right. That'll be next episode. This is Tony
And Tina.
and
Daddy O or whatever.
Daddy O. All right. Later.
Peace.